Hi everybody, today is April 23rd, 2012. You guys need to take notice of this new bill they're trying to pass, HR 1505. It would make all lands within 100 miles of our borders part of the Homeland Security. They would put up fences, build roads in areas where there is no roads, put in airstrips and helicopter pads, base installations, and other facilities. This is just so bizarre. It sounds to me like Russia. 100 miles of no man's zone along our entire borders. And how is it going to affect the people already living within 100 miles of the border? You really need to pay attention to this because this is so bizarre. This article basically talks about the parks within the 100-mile area of the Canadian and Mexican borders that would be affected by this new law. But what they don't talk about with these new roads, airstrips, fencing, and base installation is darn right scary. Border security bill would harm U.S. national parks environmentalists. A bill pending in the U.S. House of Representatives would suspend the enforcement of almost all the U.S. environmental laws on all lands under the jurisdiction of the Department of Interior and Agriculture within 100 miles of the northern border with Canada and the southern border with Mexico. The 100-mile zone includes 15 national parks, which cover 21,657,399 acres, or nearly 25% of the overall footprint of the U.S. national park system. Supporters of the bill claim it would bolster border security, while environmentalists say it would gut a century's worth of proven federal land protection. Legislation pending in the U.S. House of Representatives is claimed by its supporters to aim at improving U.S. border security, but would instead have the potential to devastate 54 of the American national parks, historic sites, national monuments, and other popular park icons, and negatively impact the nation's economy, according to a warning issued today by the Washington, D.C.-based Coalition of National Park Services Retirees. CNPSR says H.R. 1505, titled National Security and Federal Lands Protection Act, would materially weaken a century's worth of proven federal lands protection, potentially opening up millions of pristine acres of national parks to off-road vehicle use, road construction, airstrips, and helipads, fencing, base installation, and other disruptions. Sounds more like they're building FEMA camps, don't it? This legislation, introduced by Representative Rob Bishop of Utah, would suspend the enforcement of almost all the U.S. environmental laws on all lands under the jurisdiction of the Department of Interior and Agriculture within 100 miles of the border with Canada and the southern border with Mexico. It would change the targeted national parks and other federal areas into security zones and leave what CNPSR calls priceless resources unprotected. CNPSR also says that in addition to the damage the legislation would do to delicate ecosystems, it would also damage local economies, which have evolved to depend on tourism, jobs, and related economic benefits generated by the neighboring national parks. Among the National Park Service areas that fall within H.R. 1505's proposed 100-mile zone of potential devastation are Arcadia, Big Bend, Carlsbad's Caverns, Cuyahoga Valley, Glacier Bay National Park and Preserve, Guadalupe Mountains, Isles Royale, Joshua Tree, Northern Cascades, Olympic, Segura, Theodore Roosevelt, Voyagers, and Wrangell St. Ellis National Parks and Preserves. The combined total acreage of these 15 parks is 21,657,399 acres, nearly 25% of the overall footprint of the U.S. national park system. They are located within the states of Alaska, Arizona, California, Maine, Michigan, Minnesota, Montana, and it says NE. I don't know which state that is. CNPSR Chair Maureen Finner, said, "This legislative proposal is perhaps the most direct assault on national parks even to be advanced at the level in any Congress in U.S. history. It threatens to literally stop all enforcement of several landmark environmental and conservation laws that NPS uses to manage and protect the national park system and to serve millions of park visitors. The outrage here is that national parks and other U.S. crown jewels could end up being trashed in the name of achieving national security gains that are fictitious." CNPSR says that among the 36 laws which would be expressly suspended within 100 miles of the border with Canada and Mexico are virtually all environmental, historical preservation, wildlife, pollution, and tribal protection laws, including the National Park Service Organic Act, 1916, the act that requires parks areas to be managed for conservation and enjoyment so as to leave them unimpaired. The Wilderness Act of 1964, the National Environmental Policy Act 1969, the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966, the Endangered Species Act of 1973, the Clean Water Act, or Acts, the Archaeological Resources Protection Act 1979. All these laws are critically important in maintaining the integrity of American national parks. I'll give you a link so you can read more. But why 100 miles? What, is this 100 miles going to be set up with barbed wire, just like Russia? A no man's zone, so no one can get in or out? Very suspicious, if you ask me. I think it goes back to Agenda 21 of them acquiring lands, taking it away from the people. And then how does this affect all the people living within this area? The 100-mile zone. Alright, bookmark my site. I'll keep everyone up to date. Please stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless y'all. Bye.